I was going to make a sign, welcome, Greg, but I didn't have time.
How do you do the Star Trek thing? Can you do the thing with your fingers? There you go. I can't do that. I don't.
Live
Hold
long
on.
and prosper.
Let me get a piece of tape. Jeepers creepers, man.
You know how many hours when I was a kid I sat there just pulling them?
I can't do
That's
that.
funny.
No, I don't have those genetics. So,
Greg, this is my buddy Dan. I've known Dan 30 years. More, 35 years.
How's it going, Dan?
34 or something. Good. How are you doing?
So I've introduced him to your channel.
Great, man. Great.
He's new.
Okay.
And
What do you think so far?
I've looked at some of your videos. I like it. No, I like it. And your latest one around Bank of America and stuff, very interesting, very informational. And,
yeah, I thought the timing of that.
I lost Greg.
Give me like one. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take this.
Yeah,
much time.
take your time. Take your time.
I'm gonna set some up here so I don't have to hold this.
Hey, Dan is also a dancing bear, so he'll perform.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would love to see that.
No, you don't want to see that. Believe me. No, I've got 2 left feet.
Yeah. He's a part-time stripper, but we don't need to deal with that.
Okay, Dave.
There we go.
Let's not get obscene, okay? Please.
That's hilarious.
Nobody's interested in a middle-aged man. Trust me, I get it. Trust me.
You're right. I'm definitely not interested.
What do you guys do for work?
Yeah, I work for a small technology company.
Okay.
He's an IT guy like you. Aren't you IT?
What, Dave?
You're IT, Greg, right?
Me, no. I've been in the health and fitness space for the last 15 years, and I literally, with all this stuff going on, everything went to zero. So
yeah,
I'm just trading now. That's all I'm doing.
Well, Dan's real big into that. He used to look like a gorilla when he was like 20.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you lift weights or what? There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. You got some definition in there. You still lift?
Yeah, I still lift. Yeah, I'm 54 though, dude. Yeah, but
you don't look 54, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I still lift and stuff like that, and run a little bit, jump a little rope, and
it's
martial arts and all that jazz. So
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
I was a trainer briefly,
he's a professional baseball player. So
30 years ago.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've owned a gym and I've been a personal trainer for the last 15 years. So yeah.
That's awesome. No, I think that's fantastic. It's just too bad, to your point with COVID, that kind of probably not.
Oh, it just killed it. And like, no one wants to do it. And like, I own my own commercial space, and then I had shifted out of that. I think a lot of it had to do with the economy. And then they were just like, you can't work, but you have to keep paying rent. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And I've been doing it for 15 years. And I was like, I think it's time. So for me, it's like a good pivot, and COVID so far has been fairly good to me. As horrible as that sounds.
Nice.
Yeah.
But getting back real quickly, I checked out some of your videos, the Bank of America, very interesting, timely, and real interesting stuff. Their timing, like you said, was precarious at best. I mean, what a joke to dissuade everybody, right?
It's disgusting. Yeah.
And the same thing with the precious metals and stuff. All the big companies are like, it's antiquated. What do you need that stuff for? Meanwhile, we know what happens with fiat currencies long term, right?
Right. I'm sure I don't know if you ever saw the interview with Ron Paul where he was talking to Ben Bernanke. Did you ever see that interview?
Yep.
I didn't see that per se.
If you have not, when we're done with this, you should YouTube that, because it's exactly what you just said. Ron Paul is like, he's sitting there and he's grilling Ben Bernanke, and he's like, why do you guys buy this stuff if you call it a barbarous relic? And Bernanke's like, oh, it's tradition. I was like, you gotta be shitting me.
Tradition. Yeah. What a liar.
Yeah,
we need to waterboard these guys.
What a liar. I mean,
awful.
Goldman Sachs, all those cats are telling the average schmo, gold's antiquated, silver, and all this stuff, and it whatever. Meanwhile, they're in the background like squirrels, loading up probably.
There's a lot of rumors right now. It's not totally clear, but it's rumored now that a lot of the big banks have been taking tens of millions of ounces of physical delivery of silver. And if that is true, I think that's why the paper price is continuing to march higher.
Where are they getting it?
Comex, apparently. HSBC, I think, has coughed up a bunch, and JP Morgan has too. But the thing is, like, I don't know if you guys know Rob Kirby. He's a big bullion dealer, and he's been talking about it. He just doesn't know if it's actually being taken or they're being paid out in paper, which I don't know.
We're going to find out by September. We'll know.
I think you're right.
I think that later this year is going to be, and I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, once all the numbers come out and stuff, I mean, Nouriel Roubini, I don't know if you know who he is. He's famous economist, whatever, smart guy. He's saying that third quarter or so, we should get kind of like a little pop. But then after that, the stuff's going to hit the fan, you know, with all the unemployment, the earnings reports, all that stuff, right? I mean, I got to believe later in the year, all that stuff's going to definitely rear its head. You know,
I don't know how it won't. And then I don't know how, I mean, I know you said you're new to my channel. I'm really big into cycles. I firmly believe that history repeats, and I do a lot. I'm just kind of obsessed. It's my personality. My wife calls it obsessive. I call it driven. But like, I'm looking at 100-year cycles right now, and going back a couple cycles with John Law in France, the timeline of that is so similar to right now. And
bring out the guillotines, baby.
Yeah, man, it's kind of scary though. Like if it gets that bad. So in April in 1720, they started to riot. The government responded by putting troops around the city. Then June and July, which is right now, they started to devalue the currency. And then, like you guys are saying, it was like, I think it was October, November, France just went into total collapse.
What's interesting is in your last video, and I've forgotten about this, is during that time period is they had a plague going on.
Yeah. So not only 1820, there was another 100-year cycle. 1820, there was a banking crisis, and the Spanish flu.
Can you say the great distractions?
Well, it's the parallels to today are uncanny.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if today is a distraction or it's very weird. It just stuff repeats constantly.
1720, 1820. 2020.
1920, there was a minor depression, which nobody talks about. But there was no, 1820 was a banking crisis. 1920, we had the Spanish flu and a banking crisis.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
I think it is.
Totally coincidental, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing when it's uncanny.
Yeah.
And that's why when you invest, I think two of the most important things you can do is have patience.
Yeah.
Because like you said, what comes around goes around, and have liquidity. And if you have liquidity, you can afford patience.
Proverbial gunpowder, huh?
Yeah. No, it's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
Now, Greg, one of the things I want to ask you, because you've been doing YouTube for a year now.
So I started it up originally like 2010. And I had a website basically. I should have done more videos. I would like do that. I don't know if you watched that original series I have, Dan. You might want to go check that out. It literally details going back to the Athenians. It's pre-Roman times. It's like
cool. Love history, dude. Yeah, I'm a history goon. I love history. Yeah.
I think you'll really like it. I read about 60 books or so, and it's cycles constantly. And I get into the John Law stuff there, but I go through Athenians, I go through Rome, and I started it back around 2010, but really, I just kind of fell off the wagon. The last 2 years or so, I've been putting out a lot more videos, along with my brother too, who's the other voice on the channel.
Good quality videos, by the way.
Thanks, man. Try.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm so why do you think that it's been so challenging to get up to 10,000 subscribers or 5,000? What?
Oh, are we recording right now too, or no?
We are.
Okay.
And I can send you a copy of the.
Oh, okay.
No, that's cool. That's fine. I just want to make sure I don't F-bomb. I swear a lot.
No, go ahead. I can edit it out. Listen, I talk like a sailor.
Yeah. Okay. So do I. I'm trying to hold it in.
I'm so appalled. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't know. So, I mean, I had a supplement business that I started on Amazon, and we had what I considered to be a very good product. We stormed out of the gate as more competition came in. My business partner and I think we figured out that it's really nothing to do with your product. It has everything to do with how you market it. But in today's world, with everything on the internet, it's all about trying to figure out how to juice the platform that you are using, their algorithm. So what I have been doing lately is spending more time trying to figure out the YouTube algorithm, and I'm learning a ton versus just putting out videos. Yeah, like there's one of the programs I use that you may want to use is called TubeBuddy, and it helps rank. And I can send it to you when we're done, but it helps.
Cool.
It helps you with tags and everything to rank your site. Just that alone has made a difference. So we've almost like doubled our subscriber base in the last couple months purely because of that. Just people just get to see it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like I don't even remember what it's like $100 for the year or something like that, but I think it's good value.
No, I think it's smart rather than, like you said, just throwing stuff out there. Because to your point, I liken it to kind of like it helps you find the peaks and the troughs or the crest of the wave and stuff like that through kind of like, intelligent, analytics, right? As opposed to just blindly throwing it out there and hoping that whatever someone comes across it, right?
1,000%. And then to that point too. So if you can use something like that to get in front of people. So I didn't really put any, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but my brother and I, we put no emphasis on the thumbnails. And I was looking at our analytics, and we are, I don't know how deep into this you want to go, but so people would see our video, and only about like 3.5% of people were clicking through to our video. And now all we're doing, and we still need to get better at branding so that you can see that's always us, but we just changed the thumbnails to make it match the title, and it went from 3.5 up to 12 in literally a week. So we've already had a huge jump in views just by
incredible
better thumbnails, which is so weird. But again, it's like figuring out the platform that you're using, their algorithm, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I tried that. I tried doing customized thumbnails, and you have to be careful that it's not clickbait. Like a lot of people will put like a naked woman in their thumbnail when it's not even in the video. So was your name always Silver Liberties on YouTube?
Yeah, always has been.
Okay.
Just kind of like a play off of civil liberties, but we just threw the silver in there, obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, we talk about a lot of other stuff other than silver, but my brother and I are big sound money advocates. We're really kind of like, I should say this too. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no formal education in the stock world. I think that's one of the reasons I'm able to see the stock market the way that I do. I didn't spend 4 or 5 years in college.
You don't have the indoctrination.
Yeah, I don't have any of that. So it's easier for me, I
Yep.
think, to be able to go, and I kind of just by nature question everything. I'm that kid in school. It's always got his hand up. Why?
Yeah.
Means you're thinking.
Yeah, well, silver has been a dog. I mean, I know it's up, but I mean, when you compare the ratio, it went up to 125 or 130 to 1. It's, I mean, I suppose that's the time you should go all in when you see something like that. But I think what happens is most people run.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that's an old stock thing too. As soon as you see, fear or blood in the streets, I think it's a Warren Buffett quote. That's when you want to buy. And I say this on the channel a lot, is I try to trade counter to my own emotions. So when I start to look at something, I go, oh, I think it's a terrible decision. I'm very scared. I have to do the opposite of what I'm thinking. And I have a tell for myself too, has nothing to do with technicals, even though I spend a lot of time on technicals. When I'm doing well and I start thinking about all the stuff I can buy with all the money that I haven't made yet in my head,
that's a dangerous
I need to sell. I got to take profits, get out. And it has been very, very good tell for me. Now, I don't think I can teach that because it's an emotion, but it's definitely a thing.
Well, that's where a process comes in, because you have to follow a process and try to, like you said, remove the emotions when possible, because those will lead us astray.
Yeah, it's helped me. That's why I got into technicals originally, because I first started out, I got laid off in 2007, and I started studying what very successful people do. And everything I learned from my accredited business school and college is nothing that the very well off people do, or very high functioning entrepreneurs. What's that?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Because we went to business school too, and we used to even say this when we were in school. I mean, to your point, essentially, school teaches you how to be an employee, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's it.
I'm sure. You ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad? That's the book that really I was sitting at my job that I absolutely hated. I knew it was like we had a downturn before '08 hit. It was kind of like pre-COVID stuff. Like stuff was starting to slow. And I read his book and I was like, this is so different. And it made a lot of sense to me at that moment. And that's what kind of vaulted me to start studying a lot of other stuff. And I transitioned into, like, I started watching Jim Cramer a lot just to try to, get into the stock world. And I learned from him. The more that I've learned, I can't even listen to that guy for more than about 5 seconds. But I found that my emotions would lead me astray. And then that's why I got into technicals, because I literally just trade off a line. And a lot of people think that's voodoo and stupid, but I hope that I prove on my channel. It's not perfect. I don't think anything is, nor do I ever say that nothing. It is. Yeah. But it's helped me personally massively. So.
Well, I introduced Dan to options this year, and he was resistant to me. No, I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. And I think I finally got him. I mean, once you start trading options, there's many advantages to trading just shares.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything in life. I think there's the more risk involved, there's more reward. But as long as you're able to try to mitigate your own risk. The reason I like options is I don't have to put as much. A lot of people that don't trade options say that it's too risky. Right. But if you're in any of these companies recently that just, like, what if, say, you were just sitting in Hertz and you had, a giant size portion of your wealth in Hertz and you're in stock, it still basically went to zero. For me, with options, I put in, way less money, probably a tenth of what I would put into shares or something like that. If it goes to zero, I already know what my risk is. It can't go below. And I don't go all in. I used to do that when I first started trading, which gets your emotions all over the place, but I don't do that anymore. So
that's what I like about it is what the risk is.
Yeah. And for me, this is from, if you guys are familiar, have you ever heard of Jesse Livermore? He's one of my favorite traders. You ever heard of him, Dan?
From the 20s and 30s, right?
No. Yeah. In the 1929 crash, he made like $50 million.
Wow. He died penniless, I think.
Yeah, it's a terrible story.
Himself, didn't he?
He shot himself, if I remember correctly, in like a coat room or something like that. But he said basically, if you can't sleep because of a position size you're in, your position size is too low and you need to immediately sell it down. And that always resonated with me. So I sleep soundly and I can wake up in the morning. Like one of the positions I've been talking about was I went long oil when it went to negative, was it $34 or $37?
Right.
It was like at 5. I was like, well, it can only go to zero. It's not going to go to zero when we stop using oil. So I put money into that. And I woke up the next morning and was like, oh yeah, I just went negative 37. I was like, what? And my options went to zero instantly, bang. But I was able to sleep because I'm able to, I only put in about 10% at any one time of my overall portfolio, which sucks that I lost that. But that's okay. I can get it back.
Me and Dan were communicating with each other, and when that was happening, it was like 8 o'clock at night or something. And Dan's like, holy cow, it just went to like $1. And I'm like, so I called it up, and then it was like 27 cents. And then Dan's like, it just went minus. I'm like, it can't go minus.
Yeah, we were watching it, dude, and it was going minus. And I'm like, how is this happening? Oh, my God. What are they going to do? Like pay people to take a barrel of oil away or something?
That's what they did. No, that's literally what they did. That's literally.
If I had a truck, I would have gone and picked some up.
My understanding is they had to get special permission for that to go negative, but you're totally right. People were getting paid to take oil, which is insane. Like that's the level of crazy that we're in right now.
Wow. Oil I just, how does the price go negative? I just was like looking at the screen.
Yeah, my option position went to zero. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just a good example of why you never go all in. You know what I mean?
Right.
The 3 of us would have been like, all right, there's no way. No one's
especially in these markets with the volatility. The Fed printing money like there's no tomorrow. Interest rates artificially low. Right. I mean, you can go on and on. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I wish, if I was to be king of the world, I would make it so the Federal Reserve could no longer say we're going to lower interest rates. They would have to say before they say that, we're just printing money to lower interest rates, because that's all that they're doing. Most people just think they're pressing a button to lower interest rates. They have to go out into the actual free market, print money, because the Federal Reserve Bank is not, it's not federal, has no reserves, and it's not a bank. And they print money. to go into lower interest rates. It's insane. And I think it's
become .gov this year.
Yeah, even that I don't understand what's going on there either. So some very weird
smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors.
How can they say .gov? It's essentially a private entity, correct?
It's
private banks on it.
It's supposed to be. Yeah, nobody knows who the actual owners are. There's a book called Creatures from Jekyll Island.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Edward Griffin is the guy that wrote it. If you've never read that, there's another book. I read that, and that was one of the things that really woke me up. I was like, I
got to write that down. What was that called again?
It's called Creatures from Jekyll Island, and it's by Edward Griffin.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's about how the guys went down to the island off of Georgia and created the Fed, and it just happened to have the income tax come in at the same time.
Yep.
What a coincidence.
They used I think it was the 1908? Is it 1908? 1908 crash, I think. I think it was 1908 to kind of push their agenda forward. The whole book is dedicated to that.
Well, here's the funny thing with the Fed. Their two mandates are full employment and inflation control, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Neither of those are.
So when you say mandates, Dave, I mean that's essentially the charter.
Hold on. So the Fed. So those are the two mandates for the Fed. So the dollar's worth like 2 cents since the Fed was formed.
Yeah.
And they can't control stock market crashes or employment. So what in God's name do we need the Fed for? We should disband them immediately and let Congress do the job that they're required to do per the Constitution.
Yeah, so per that book, this I think I hopefully I'm saying the date right. I think it was early 1900s. How's that? They had a crash that people panicked, and when people's fear rises, they're more pliable. You can kind of control the narrative when that happens. So they used a crash.
It's problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah, to bring themselves into power. And I think it was Rothschild that said, I don't care, and I'm butchering his quote, but I don't care who makes a country's laws as long as I have control of their monetary system.
Absolutely. Yep.
And they can create crashes, and even like right now, right today. So for the last 3 weeks, the Federal Reserve has been pulling liquidity from the market. So that's one of the reasons I was getting long the VIX, and the market's gone almost nowhere in the last couple of weeks, just trading in this like tiny little range because they're slowly pulling money out, because I think they are starting to realize, like, if we just keep printing, everything's going to collapse. You're going to have a hyperinflationary collapse, right? But they can create the boom and the bust, and they know when it's happening, so they can call their buddies and their family before they pull liquidity and go, hey, you want to take your money out of the market. And that's been proven in the 1929 crash. I think it was Galbraith wrote a book on that. Same thing. They proved that they pulled liquidity from the market and everything came crashing down.
Well, they're reducing their balance sheet right now, the Fed.
Yeah, for the last 3 weeks, I think it is. Yeah. But the thing is, every single time they've tried to do this, you've had a massive stock crash. So the last time they tried to do this was 2018, December, where we had the largest crash ever in American history in December. And then what did they do on December 24th? We're going to now lower interest rates, which is print money, and we're going to print money, which I believe they called not QE or whenever that started.
Now, why do you think that the majority of people don't care or don't notice any of this?
Yeah, this is obviously just my opinion. I don't think it's that people don't care. If we cycle back to schooling, you don't learn anything about money whatsoever in school. And I think it was Henry Ford that said if the average person in America understood our financial system, we'd have a revolution before the sun comes up. So when I talk to my friends and family, with like, I don't know what you guys get, but a lot of like friends and family think my thoughts are insane, right?
They think you're off in left field, I'm sure.
Yeah, and
you're off the range.
Yeah, and I think I'm becoming somewhat vindicated, at least recently. Where was I going with that? What was the question again? Sorry, Dave.
Why do you think people just aren't awake? Why aren't they noticing?
Yeah, I think it's on purpose. I don't think anybody talks about it. So one of the things I do on my channel is I go on to CNBC, which I call CNBS, and they even this morning, for the last like probably 4 or 5 weeks, the headline under gold, you can see gold's green. And even just today, right now, before we did this interview, I looked, said gold hits a 5th week high due to virus fears. Gold's not going up because of the virus fears. I'm sure that's part of it, but it's because the Fed is printing an insane amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the big bullion banks have been fined for suppressing it and manipulating it down. Gold would be multiples higher if they weren't doing that. And they're all together. I mean, it's like once you start to question it, which I think a lot of people don't do, I don't think, not to just sit here and bash school, but schools, I don't know what your guys' experience is, but it doesn't really teach you to critically think anymore. So people don't really ask why. And if you're not asking why, and the news is telling you one thing, and your critical thinking skills have been shut down, you're just, this is where we are. And it's not new. I mean, Henry Ford was talking about this like, 60, 70 years ago.
Right. Everybody should watch George Carlin, because the Carlinisms explain all of it.
He's great. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yep. Well, the volatility, I think that's a good trade, because volatility is not going away anytime soon. They were able to get it down below 30, but I think that it's going to spike up. I think selling some puts against the VXX is a good trade right now.
Yeah, I'm just long. Yeah, I'm just long calls in the VIX, and I mean, again, I'm not all in. I'm in 3 minors right now, and I think I'm in AC. I basically, for me personally, I never go in more than about 5 positions. I find that when I'm in more than 5, I always lose money. It's all my simpleton brain can handle is 5 positions. But most of them are minors. I'm in a marijuana stock, and I'm shorting. You know, I'm long volatility.
Are you expecting a? Are you expecting a pullback in gold and silver in the minors, a significant pullback, like what happened in March?
I don't know. It's so. I'm actually not, for the first time in a long time. So I feel like the tides have started to shift, even just the last couple of weeks, as the miners get their standard like monkey hammer down on some stupid news. The miners have been very resilient and have reversed and finished green. So in bull markets, that happens very often in early part of trading in the day. You'll see whatever the equity is down, and it'll close higher. And the miners have been doing that the last few weeks. And for me, it's interesting to see that all this is going on. And then we go back to what we were talking about before. It's very possible that the big banks are taking delivery of millions of ounces of physical silver. And if that is the case, so a lot of people always complain that the banks manipulate silver down, which they do. That's fact, right? But they can also manipulate it up. I mean, what are you going to go do? Buy Tesla right now? I mean, it's crazy. So if banks are taking delivery of physical silver, there's no reason they can't manipulate that thing up.
Yeah, they might say, hey, it's too much energy to keep it down. Let's ride with the tide.
The big banks don't lose. And if they're starting to take physical delivery, and I've been hearing rumors for a while that JP Morgan went net long silver about a year and a half ago. And silver right around that time frame just stopped going down. It didn't shoot up, but it's not been going down. And physical silver is outperforming paper silver. I mean, just right when all this virus stuff hit, I mean, the premiums on some of the major bullion dealers were 100% higher than the physical price. You go to ApeMax, the largest bullion dealer in the world, they couldn't get, I think it's down to like 26, 27 right now, but it was up in over 30 when silver was trading at like 15 to 16 bucks. So physical silver is moving, and people, and the mainstream media doesn't ever talk about it. They just show you paper price.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it is a hassle to take possession of physical metals. I mean, it's so I understand why people would prefer paper.
Oh, I totally understand. I mean, that's funny. My friend and I were talking about that. We're like, what would you do if you took 10 million ounces of physical silver like that? I'm not immersed in it enough to know how that even works. I mean, do you have like a semi truck? Is it on pallets or guards delivering that stuff? And where do you put 10 million ounces of some shiny rocks? I don't know.
That's a big hole in the ground.
In a very strong vault that's a foot thick of iron or something somewhere with armed guards.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the big banks, I'm sure, have vaults and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know how that process works. I don't know.
I've been telling Dan $19 is we'll see if we can hold the line on 19 on silver.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get over, up over 1900 to 2000 in gold, I think if we can get up consistently over those numbers, then like you always said, once you go into the white space of a chart, it tends to go.
Yeah, that's called in the technical world, there's no overhead resistance, and that means there's really no sellers there. So you look at if you get off silver, if you take a look at like Tesla, which to me makes no fundamental sense whatsoever, as Tesla, or even like the NASDAQ right now, anything that goes up and makes a new high, it will almost always continue to go until it hits a point where it's just, it's too far extended and you have some type of, rebound where it comes flying back in. But
when they have to report reality. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, and I do a lot of I use a lot of math in my trading, and I have a mathematical target for silver, like mid 20s, 21. I think for that, I think that's where it's trying to go. And then we'll probably see like a little consolidation sideways or maybe a move down. But after that, I think it's just, and like we're talking about, and if we're following, like say the 1720s timeline, as silver continues to move higher, if it can get through like 20, 50, 21 range, I think it's just going to start to scream higher. And I really believe, and maybe I'm crazy, but I've been saying this for a while, I think silver will pull some form of a Bitcoin where people are like, oh, silver's never going to go up. But Bitcoin went from a couple pennies to $20,000. I'm not saying silver is going to do that, but my price target for silver, this is going back to like 2008 when I started getting into stuff, it's like $100 to $500. And it could be multiples higher because you don't know how stupid politicians are going to be.
We just need to get Dave Portnoy on board.
Yeah, that guy's hilarious. Yeah, I'm a little like, why doesn't a guy I'm totally new to him. I'm so checked out from mainstream media. I didn't even know that guy was involved in sports or anything like that. I just saw him pulling out Scrabble pieces and he's just making fun of Wall Street. He's making money doing this. That's amazing. I was like, this guy's hilarious because he understands it.
I've sent him a couple messages, and I'm trying to get him in touch with Keith Neumeyer at First Majestic.
Oh wow.
Because Keith Neumeyer is holding back inventory. He's not putting it on the market because he doesn't want to sell it at lower prices.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, I think Neumeyer has been leading the charge on that for a couple of years. He keeps saying out loud, like, guys, like, that they're manipulating it. It's been proven in court. They've paid fines. Why do we keep supplying it? You should hold it back, right? If they can run their business operations doing that.
Right. And the thing is why can't silver go to 50 and gold go to 5,000? Because the point is how is that going to negatively affect society compared to these other things that are hyperbolic right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think gold and silver, let's say gold goes to 5,000. I don't think gold itself going to 5,000 will cause instability in our overall economy. It's the instability that already exists in our economy that will force gold up there. And I did an interview with Dave Kranzler, and one of the things he said on there, he said, you do kind of have to, not that it matters, but he was like, if you're cheerleading gold 5,000, you have to understand that may be a world you don't want to live in. And I don't know.
Aren't we already there?
Well.
This is not a world we want to live in right now.
Well, I don't think it's that bad yet, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I don't know, Dave, if I agree that it's that bad yet either.
Shut down the economy.
Well, no, I agree with you that we're on a trajectory that I think we need to try to lessen or get off of, if you will. But I think he makes a great point too. Guys like Rickards and some other guys have been doing the math on gold, for example. You take the total money outstanding in US dollars, I think it's about 11.2 trillion in the world, something like that, divided by, 33,000 tons of outstanding gold, plus or minus, whatever. You get like $10,000 an ounce, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been talking around that. We agree that it's been held down. But what does it mean if it does pop to 3 or 5 or 10 grand? I think for the small percentage of people in the world that are following this and into that and savvy about it, they'll be okay. But for the bulk of the rank and file, what you guys are alluding to, it'll only drive that worse trajectory, if you will, I think, further, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the governments don't want to see that stuff happen, and they don't want to see silver, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, a simpleton about this, but go to triple digits when in fact it can legitimately do that, in my opinion, easily go to 100 or 200. But what if it does? Then what does that do for the governments and the powers that be, right?
I think that if it does, and I personally believe that it will, I think that simply means that the average person has awoken from their slumber enough to buy into it. And then what I've been saying for years too, as most of my friends, family think I'm crazy with my thoughts, I will start to sell my metals when my friends and family start asking me how to buy it.
Bingo.
Right.
And I think, I said this on I think I said this on my channel a week or two ago. For the first time ever, I play hockey. I played this morning. Guys on the hockey bench. I was out. And the guys I really like. Some of the guys call me Wolf of Wall Street on the that's my nickname on the bench. But they were talking about money printing that I didn't start the conversation. I was out skating around, came back, and I could hear them. I was like, "You guys talking about money printing?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Whoa!" But then here we are watching silver start to move higher. People are waking up, and I can see that trend changing. And I mean, the mint sold out of silver early this year. U.S. Mint, people are waking up.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to articulate, and you articulated it much better. I mean, once these real prices start to come into play, if they do, and I think it's a matter of time, then the governments and the leaders that be, whatever, they know this, to your point, right? They know that as that stuff starts to come more into play, the awakening will also kind of rise. It's not inverse. I think they're in lockstep together, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and now the governments are going to be like, now what? Everybody's awake. Now, now we can't control the masses, and blindly herd them around, right?
Yeah. I mean, gold and silver have no masters. They're you boil it down, they're literally shiny rocks. And granted, it's probably too simplistic, but they are a gauge of fear. So by suppressing them, it gives the illusion that things are still okay. Now, if gold was 5,000 right now, people that don't follow finance, you're not taught in school, and maybe you just don't kind of care about it. Like my wife doesn't care about this stuff at all, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her. But if it was like 5,000 and the news was talking about it every day, you're going to have more people going, "Why is gold 5,000?" And then someone would say to them, "Oh, have you heard about the Federal Reserve? Did you read The Creature from Jekyll Island?" And then there's an awakening that happens.
Right.
But once the price is up that high, it's too late. You don't want to buy it then. But that's when the average person will start to buy it, because that's just how markets work.
You're right. It's we all know the saying, buy low, sell high, but most people tend to do the opposite.
Or when the cab driver, right? It didn't happen in the late 90s, starts giving you stock tips, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't
against the cab driver, but you know what I mean.
No, and I don't want to make fun of what I'm about to say, but the Robinhood app, which is a free app, I think that is kind of your cab driver moving into a lot of these positions, and it's a lot of people that are new to trading, and they're look at Portnoy again. He's pulling Scrabble little blocks out of a bag, and he's able to make money, and he makes fun of the system, and he has a huge following doing that. So it's become very easy for people. And I remember it was like 06, late 06, 07. That's when I first started trading. The very first stock I bought was GameStop. I'm part of the video game generation. I bought it. It went up like 60%. I was like, I remember saying to myself, this is easy. Like, why do people not do this? And then 07, 08 happened. And I remember it went to zero. My gains went to zero, and then it started going negative. I remember looking at my wife going, I don't know what to do. And I was like in a panic, and I just held on to it. Because I just started. I'm listening to Jim Cramer, right? Like I think that's happening now. Now, I think the Federal Reserve is panicking. Every time the stock market goes down 5 or 10%, they march people out to talk about how they're going to print more money. And I think that's waking people up. I think that people see there's millions and millions of people not working, but stocks continue to go higher. And I think people are just questioning that. I think that's where we are right now. Like, this doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, wait till they start getting their bonuses.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And you're big into cryptos as well.
Yeah, I follow it. My brother's actually a little bit bigger.
Oh, your brother's the one because I was telling Dan that you guys made a bet that it was going to be what at the end of the year, 100,000.
I think it was over 20. I can't even remember our bet,
Oh, okay.
but it's not. I don't think it's going to be, but it could be. I personally think Bitcoin will be probably 30 to 50,000 in the next couple of years. I mean, the other thing what's weird with if you guys want to talk about crypto, Bitcoin. Originally, a lot of it's like kind of been perverted, at least in my opinion, that it's like gold 2.0. The original white paper on that was it was meant to be a currency to compete with fiat dollars, not to replace gold or silver. And somewhere along the lines, now a lot of people are like, "Oh, Bitcoin's better than gold," and I don't believe that. Nor does my brother. We believe, again, we're like sound money advocates. You know, if I was to rank them, I think gold and silver would be 1, and then crypto would be 2, and then fiat would be number 3. So,
well, what about Bitcoin or GLD?
Oh, I've not been asked that. I don't know.
That really is digital gold, right?
I'd probably go Bitcoin because GLD, at least the last time I read the prospectus a long time ago, they can pay you out in paper. You're also inside of the system. So you think you're holding gold, you're not, you're trading paper. And then let's say stuff gets really weird. I mean, they could shut down the markets and stuff, and your money could be tied up in some, brokerage for a long time. I think crypto would be better than GLD. But I don't know. I don't know. Man, it's 50-50. I hadn't really put much thought into that one.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are hesitant to use crypto because if you don't use like Coinbase or some other third-party provider, then it's actually quite difficult for most people to understand how to buy and hold crypto.
Yeah, and I would say there's definitely, like as we've been kind of saying, there's a fear component with crypto because it's new, people don't understand it. And you look at the media too. So one of the things that drives me nuts about crypto is Steve Mnuchin has said it probably 15 times live on the news. People have been using crypto for nefarious things, like, for drugs. And the number one currency for that type of activity is the U.S. dollar.
I thought it was the U.S. dollar.
It is.
$20 bill.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I mean, remember Pablo Escobar? That guy had like billions of dollars, it just paper money sitting around warehouses and stuff. I watched some video on him. He was spending a couple $1 million a year in rubber bands to rubber band his paper dollars together. I mean, it was crazy. Well, but they want to make it sound like it's crypto's the problem. I mean, it's not. It's just criminals will do whatever they need to do. Bitcoin it's just a currency. It's nothing else.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of Liberty, like you said, is whether it's this virus or whether it's alcohol or drugs, because you live in Colorado. Mm-hmm. I know people are afraid of giving people freedom of choice because they picture people running around the streets shooting each other.
Yes.
But
yeah, like it turns into anarchism overnight.
Right. But actually, if you give people freedom of choice on how to live their own lives, it actually leads to a better world, in my opinion.
I think so.
You're not wasting all these resources trying to control people. Because people are going to do it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from that perspective, I mean, to argue that some entity that you've never met that lives in a different part of the world that knows what's best for you versus your own decisions on what's best for your own life is just, it's not even really an argument to me. I think freedom of choice is, as long as you're not harming other people, that's kind of my big thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the only caveat to the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, even you talk about Colorado here legalizing drugs. I mean, this might sound super radical, but I mean, I don't do any hard drugs or anything, but like, I wouldn't even care if they legalized like cocaine. I lived out in Southern California. I remember the very first party I went to in LA. There was all this just stuff I'd never seen before. It's cocaine. And almost everyone at this party was doing it. I didn't participate in it. They can make it illegal. And like you said, they're spending all kinds of money to, and violence surrounding trying to control the war on drugs. But if you made it illegal, I bet violence would drop and you can tax it like they do with marijuana out here. And people are doing it anyway.
Yeah. And to your point, they could legalize it tomorrow at a personal level. Speaking for myself, I'm not interested in cocaine. I'm not going to do it. I'm too afraid to do it. You know,
Right,
I don't want to
right.
harm myself.
Yeah.
I'm too cheap and I'm afraid to do it. So it's not going to affect me.
Yeah.
But if Joe Blow wants to do it,
he's already doing it, right? You might as well tax him or something. I bet you'd probably lower violence around the borders.
Have you noticed any changes in Colorado since they've legalized marijuana? Is positive, negative? As far
no, not at all. If anything, so I'm an advocate of marijuana once it was legalized. I did it twice in college, and I laughed a lot when I did it, but because it was illegal, I never wanted to take the risk. And now that it's legal out here, I don't drink at all. On a personal level, I can say that it's improved my health. It's improved my sleep. I keep my body fat down lower, and I feel better. Alcohol, especially in the environment we're in with everything going on, people are very fearful. They're very angry, very scared. Alcohol, which is legal everywhere. I mean, they even have drive-throughs where you can go and pick it up. It's a depressant, and it messes with your sleep, and it is unhealthy. It adds body fat to the body, and the average American is the least healthy, I think, of any population in the history of the world, while we're all worried about a virus, and people are just sitting at home drinking. I don't know.
Yep. And by the way, gyms and health and exercise are not considered a vital or crucial function,
crazy.
right?
Yeah, I mean, all my stuff went to zero. Yeah, all my health and fitness stuff went to zero. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a non-essential business, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, heaven forbid you keep people trying to, you know, do something good for themselves in terms of health, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a medical professional. I've been in the health and fitness space forever, but I think if you wanted to increase your immune system, I know what you don't want to do. It's sit inside your house, not get any sun, don't move around, and drink beer. The average American put on like 8 pounds in the last 2 months or something like that. And talking to people, everyone's boozing because they're just bored.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, that's great for you.
Yeah, and we can jump off as you want, but from a state perspective, the first year that they legalized marijuana here, Colorado brought in $1 billion in taxes. Now, I thought from a financial standpoint and from a trend standpoint, I firmly believe it will be legalized pretty much in every state, because I think it's 40 of 50 American states as of late 2019 were not going to be able to pay their bills. And I think that they'll ram marijuana through, because people, if they're sitting at home and they're unemployed with nothing to do, here's the other thing too. How many people, if you know anybody that's ever used marijuana, no one beats their wife on marijuana. You do on alcohol. Yep. And you can actually drive on marijuana and be fine. Not that I don't do that, but you're totally fine doing it.
Well, if states have legalized gambling for that reason, you know that they're going to do it with anything they can pass, they're going to pass.
Yeah, I think so. So I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm into the marijuana stocks. I believe it'll take a huge chunk out of alcohol.
Well, Dan was in ACB until recently, and I know that's a long that you have on right now.
Yep.
So if we wrap it up right now, you know, for people who are, let's break it into two categories. For people that are like us or just getting interested, or people who have no understanding of this at all, what advice or what recommendations should we give them about going forward? I mean, are we running out of time?
You mean in a financial sense, or
any way you want to take the question? I mean,
I guess from a super high level, and maybe it sounds too simplistic, but if you're sitting at home and you're scared or you're fearful and you don't know what to do, start asking questions. Get on YouTube, you know, listen to interviews like this. Reach out to any of your friends that may have a different opinion. Just talk to them. You know what I mean? And try to remove the whole political bias, the left and the right. I consider myself a political atheist. I think that's just another form of division, where I have really good friends. There's two guys in particular. The three of us used to hang out a lot. One's super right, one's super left. They don't talk to each other anymore. Now I can't hang out with them because they have broken their friendship. So try to remove a lot of that stuff. I think trying to be nice to your neighbors, you know, your friends, cordial, and just ask questions. Read books. I probably sound like I'm 1,000 years old.
No, educate yourself. Educate yourself constantly. Spot on.
Well, you have the time now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I literally sat I've read, like I've mentioned, I've studied a lot of history stuff. I read another book about France the other day. That's why I was putting that out in those videos, just because it's
awesome,
just
dude.
super fascinating. And the one positive to reading, maybe that's my best thing, is just start reading books. The difference between reading and watching TV is passive. You're not thinking. When you're reading a book, yes, it takes a little bit longer, but you have to critically think when you're reading. It's not passive. And I think reading and asking questions is probably the best thing we can do as a society, so that we don't go into like some type of dark age or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have a TV. I won't allow it in the house.
I don't watch TV anymore. I haven't in years now either. And to your point, I liken everything you just said to exercise for your mind. We have exercise for the body. Yeah. That's exercise for your mind. To your point, watching the TV, you're just like sitting on the couch, eating Cheetos and drinking a gallon of Coke.
And passively absorbing whatever is being told.
Right.
And who knows what rays are coming out of that TV?
That's why they call it programming.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Is that a good answer? I don't know. That's kind of my.
Well, unfortunately, we're a very apathetic society where we tend to rely on government. And it's not like back when George Washington, who didn't want to be president, did it because he felt a civic duty. And you had farmers who left their homes and went to Washington, and they were just regular people. Today, we have people go to Washington and they go home multimillionaires.
And they're in there for like 30 years. Yeah, you're totally right. Politicians originally were not meant to do that, and no one wanted to do it. You did it because it was a good duty for your country. And now, guys, if you're a politician for 30 years, the amount of flip-flopping that has to take place to maintain that level of power is outrageous. And it's just, I just don't follow politics. I don't.
Right. They made it a career path. The founding fathers weren't thinking, hey, you could have a career path for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be that way. Yeah.
Doesn't it say that in the Constitution? This is a career path, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Super
it's a great retirement plan. Run for Senate. Get a lifetime
exactly. Lifetime benefits. You get all the insider information. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, you can legally trade off insider information, and then you basically barely work. I mean, it sounds like a good gig. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, what if you're gonna think of one or two words to think of government or politicians? Would you say they're our friends and they're looking out for our best interests? So those are the adjectives that you'd use to describe?
Oh boy, Dave. Jeez, leading the guy down the path.
Well, I mean, like I said, I consider myself a political atheist. I think like most things, everything has some positive and negative to it. I think politicians can do positive things, but I think as a whole, especially today with the division within society, I think it's a net negative. And I think if people spent more time reading and studying about what's actually going on, I think people would spend, I think one of the reasons the left and the right is so in our face of late is people are scared and they don't know what to do because colleges, schools really didn't educate us on any of this stuff. And people are looking to our leaders to help. And history shows that doesn't work. And you lift the best here, maybe I can end with this. The best thing you can do for your country, for other people, is to fix yourself. Whatever you want to see in the world, you got to become that person, and then it'll permeate into the rest of your life.
Well, perhaps it's all linked to the destruction of the family in this country, and that's why people look to government, because there's no father in the house. Or no two people in the house.
It's very possible. I mean, divorce is, I don't even know what it is anymore. It's well over 50%. You've lost single family homes, a lot of single family homes I know, and I don't know the percentages on these, but I know a lot of them are those homes. And I don't blame people. I've got 2 kids. If it was just me raising my 2 kids, my life would be impossible. I would probably need some form of government assistance. So I don't blame people that are going down that road. But yeah, maybe that is a big part of it. I really don't know.
And you definitely look at school as a form of daycare if you were a single parent.
1,000%. Yep. I mean, what's interesting here in Colorado, we shut down the schools and everything, but they kept open the lunch service because so many people don't have enough money to feed their kids that the kids have to go to school. You just go and pick up a lunch and you go home.
Isn't that something?
Like housing taxes are paying to feed other people's kids here. while we print money and the price of homes continues to go up. I mean, it's
unbelievable.
It is. I don't know how. Yeah, it's super weird. Sad.
Would you favor? Would you? So even though during this whole shutdown, people have learned online from colleges, high schools, elementary schools, hasn't that proven that we don't need the brick and mortar to pay 25% of our taxes towards the maintenance and upkeep of brick and mortar?
Yeah, it's super interesting you're saying that. So I have been, all the conversation we're talking about schooling. I saw a poll a while ago too. If you poll the average adult and you ask them, do you think school helped you get to where you are in your life today? Something like 80% of adults say no, it didn't help at all. So why are we doing that? And when Colorado shut down schools, we transitioned into a homeschooling through the school system, which I thought was horrendous. And they're putting out new guidelines to open up the school where they have social distancing, can't use the gyms, you can't be close outside at recess, like all this stuff. You have to wear masks, or you have to make sure you're in a, and my wife and I decided we're going to homeschool our kids for the first time. And we've been talking about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, just because of all the stuff we're talking about already with schooling. So that's what I was kind of saying. Like this whole virus stuff has been terrible for a lot of people. For us personally, because I've been preparing for this fiscal event for a while, I think it's just a good pivot for us to try to homeschool our kids. And if all I want to try to do is to make sure that my kids can critically think, if I can get them to do that, I think for me, I'm a successful dad.
Think of how much more educated and savvy they'll be. I hate to say it, to their counterparts. I mean, they'll be on average so much more enlightened, and I don't mean to put anybody down, but you know what I mean.
Facts bear that out, what you're saying. And I don't know if you guys have any friends that have homeschooled their kids. I have a mentor that has, one of my very good friends has, and their kids are way higher level. Like it's very obvious. Yeah.
Well, you know, if you consider spending $100,000 a year on college, maybe it would be better to have your kid go work for free as an apprentice someplace.
Oh, I've been saying this for years at school. See, since when I graduated, I'm 40. I graduated in like 2002, 2003. I think it was like $3,500 a semester to go to the state school that I graduated from. The last time I looked, it's at like 12 or 15,000. But the value hasn't changed. They're still teaching the same stuff. They're still teaching the same stuff. All they do, you just new edition this year for the textbook. They move a couple chapters around in the book. And I've been saying for years, instead of spending $100,000, whatever school costs the average person, just go buy a rental property. Yeah, I think housing is overvalued, but you learn about a business, and at least you generate some income instead of having to pay back this giant debt. It's the only thing that you can't default on in the United States is tuition debt.
That's right.
Which is insane. And all it does is go up. And there's no, and what are you going to, when you graduate, there's no jobs. What are you going to school for?
Exactly. Now you got $100,000, you're 150 grand in debt. You've got a mortgage piled on your head. You're 23. And how many times have we seen it? The kids waitering at a restaurant. Oh, I forgot COVID. There's no restaurants.
And you can't default. What are you supposed to do? I mean, at least if you bought a house, I mean, it has some value. You could go live in it as worst case scenario.
So the kid lives at home, man. So what happens is, and we've seen this, the kid lives at home till they're 33 and a half. Literally, right? That's the new
my neighbors, and again, I'm not making fun. They have two sons. One's 35, one's 33. They still live at home with their parents.
There you go. I mean, 60 years ago, World War II generation, whatever, I know it was different, but 23, 25, you were an adult, full-fledged adult. You probably had a family. You were raising them. You were working, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now people are 47 years old and they're still living at home, and we treat them like they're 13.
Yeah, it's crazy,
right?
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I've got about 2 minutes. My wife's got to
I'll just say that the number one thing that we can remind ourselves is do not let fear dictate your life and your decisions. Have the courage to make good decisions, and don't avoid something because you're afraid of it.
Yeah, and if you are fearful, try to gather as much information as you can to overcome that fear so that you can move your life forward. Sitting at home in a state of fear is probably the worst thing you can do ever.
And the other thing is whether you're going to turn to the Bible or whether you turn to friends or mentors, find a source of information that can help you make good decisions, because I'm the first one who will admit I do not have all the answers. And sometimes talking with somebody or getting information bigger than myself will help me make better decisions.
Yeah, agree completely. I've done that in my own life. I've used a lot of mentors, and it's changes your life, and it removes fear for sure. But the thing that holds most people back in all aspects of their life is fear.
Dan, do you have anything else to say or ask Greg?
No. This has been wonderful. Greg, I want to thank you for your time. I've gotten a lot out of this at a personal level. Very insightful. Again, thanks for your time. You touched upon a lot of great things that I think definitely hold true, in my opinion. And the big thing is, like we all agree on, try to push through the ignorance and the fear by constantly, even if it's baby steps every day, making strides to improve yourself and to learn and to get better. I guess that's how I would recap it.
That's fantastic advice. And on my end, I totally enjoyed this, and I love having conversations like this. And if you guys want to do this again, I'm totally down. And thanks for having me on.
I just want you to take us out with Happy Friday.
Come on, man. You're so cliche, man.
Well, yeah, it is a happy Friday.
No,
I agree.
In your voice.
What's that?
In your voice.
Oh, my hey?
Yeah.
The hey.
The way you start videos.
I should have come on like that. Hey.
Nice. Well, we like to joke around a little bit, as you can tell. So.
Oh yeah, sure. It makes my life more fun joking around.
You gotta laugh, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the last piece of advice, everybody. You gotta laugh. You gotta smile once in a while. It's good for you, right? Physically.
Yeah, Greg, the reason I wanted to do this is because I know that we have some similar approaches to things, and I think more than ever, it's important. And I've talked to Dan about this, about creating communities of people, of like-minded people, because what's coming down the road, we're going to have to rely on each other.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I mean, one of the reasons, maybe it's a selfish reason, but one of the reasons I started the channel back up was to try to educate as many people as possible, and in hopes of doing exactly what you said, kind of create a community where we can share ideas and just help each other. And, you know, the cool thing with the internet is it makes it way more possible. I mean, if we weren't doing it over the internet here, you and I probably would never have had a conversation, right? So, absolutely. And I think there's very few of us with our mindset. So I think increasing our reach, I think is very important. Is very important going forward.
Well, thank you, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And you have a great weekend.
Yeah, you guys too.
You know, I think it's going to be a very interesting finish to the year.
Highly agree. All right, have a good weekend, everybody.
Peace.
Likewise.
Take care.
See you guys.
What's up, guys?
All right, Dan.
Take care.
I'll talk to you. Take care.
Thanks all.
Bye now.
See ya.